Hey everybody, and welcome back to the weekly vlog. Today we're going to be talking about Guild 3 stuff. Yes, we're doing more Guild 3 stuff. Going to be talking about the schedule. I'm going to be talking to an interesting entry I had on my survey thing, link in the description, on if my job is a real job. And it's a question that a lot of people ask about on YouTube in general, so I thought I'd really go into detail on it, because I'm not sure I ever have. But before we get into the schedule today, we are going for that partnership on Twitch, as I've talked about 1,000 times, you know, link at the end of the video and everything. And we did the thing where we let people vote on what games to do, and one of those games got pretty well above the 75 viewer average the whole stream, but the other ones didn't. So I thought I'm gonna bring out the big guns. Schedule this week: World of Warcraft, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday, we have the last episode of Terraria, so that series is finishing up. We beat the final boss and everything, so look forward to that. That's a complete series, although we might continue it a little bit in just kind of goofy multiplayer streams, but the main part of that game is done. So new series on Thursday at 3 p.m, which is Resident Evil 7. I played the game blind. I've beaten the game now, but that was a lot of fun. Crusader Kings 2 on Saturday and Sunday at 3 p.m. Onto the 6 p.m. slot. Oh, and by the way, daylight savings time just happened for me yesterday, so if you haven't had it happen for you yet, or if you're in a country or a state or a province or something that doesn't have daylight savings time, my whole show happens 1 hour earlier for you now. 6 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Saturday now for March, is when we upload the previous week's streams. So we have Payday 2, The Guild 2 Renaissance, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Friday 13th. Tuesday and Thursday, we have more Crusader Kings 2, and for the streams of this week, we're pulling out the big guns. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, we're doing The Guild 3. From what I understand, it is still barely developed from the last time we streamed it, like half a year ago, but we're gonna do it. The Guild 2 Renaissance, we're gonna do more of that with Mandy. In fact, I believe Mandy's gonna be free for the Guild 3 as well, which she hasn't seen yet. Saturday, we have Domina, because that last Domina stream we did a few weeks ago was so much fun. And on Sunday, we are doing Project Zomboid with you guys. Either we'll have like a community server by then, or if we don't, then I'm going to just jump in some public server and we can all jump in the same server and play Project Zomboid together. As for TAD, we passed the $10 goal, so that would be the Tuesday stream, but as you could probably predict, the $10 TAD goal doesn't really count for March, just because I have to do the extra streams anyway if I want to get this partnership, so we'll just pretend that that mattered. I mean, the money still matters. That's awesome. So I was reading through the entries on my survey thing today, and I read one that had a very interesting section. I always have a section that I really like checking on my survey where it's, have I ever done anything that upset or annoy you? If so, what did I do? And a big thing about the survey is you can do it anonymously. The very first question is like, what's your username? But it's optional. You can just pick to not write anything there. So this section is really interesting to me, because then if somebody has any gripe with me, I can read it and learn from it, you know? And it's mostly honestly positive. People usually don't fill out that part, and I kind of wish people would fill it out more, just because, again, there's something I could learn from in it, probably. But I got one today that I thought was really, really interesting, because it brings up an interesting topic. I usually wouldn't, like, talk about this stuff just because, like, I don't want to be like putting a guy on blast or something, but they stayed mostly anonymous anyway. They didn't write their username at the top, but they put their YouTube link at the bottom, but I'm just gonna leave it anonymous because it would be really douchey to just call them out for this, because honestly I think this is an argument from ignorance more than anything, and not willful ignorance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off their message, and then we're going to start a discussion about it. What's it saying? What was it? Eleanor Roosevelt, I think. It's like small minds talk about people, medium minds talk about events, large minds talk about ideas, something like that. So we're going to take this event to talk about an idea, which is what I do every day a real job? Let's get into the message. I don't really know you on a personal level, but I've watched your videos explaining your medical situation and life situation, and I can kind of relate, except for the fact that my own disability issues are from serving in combat in the armed forces. Hold on, let me move this to the other monitor. I am fucking blind. I feel like while you have medical issues that keep your body from functioning normally, you kind of had a very defeatist and my life sucks, take pity on me attitude. Like I said, I don't know you on a personal level, only basing this off the content that was presented. I found your Guild 2 videos to be very educational and helpful to me as I recently purchased the game and was kinda lost as it's outside of my genre of gaming. I feel like you have an entertain and educational channel, so that's a plus. But there are a ton of ways to earn income from the confines of your home over playing video games and making YouTube videos. There are so many great and free resources that are out there for programming, web development, dropshipping business, freelance work, and maybe none of that interests you, but relying on Patreon, YouTube's new shit monetization, AdSense pay, and trying to get Twitch partnership just feels like you're looking for not quite a handout, but not exactly a real job. I know people who have used resources like Free Code Camp, and within 4 months they were getting paid to do front-end web development remotely. So I want to break this down part by part, but first I want to address you a little bit and just say thank you very much for serving in the armed forces. I know to some degree how hard of a job that is. My best friend actually just left for the Canadian military. He just started at basic training, and I think he's allowed about half an hour with his phone every day, and I think in the States you're not allowed any time with your phone, in most states at least. And he just texted me the other day saying it feels like a fucking prison camp, and that he was given 28 extra days of basic training because he failed the initial physical obstacle course by 1.5 seconds. That's fucking rough. But I very much appreciate that you did that, even though you're not of my country, because I know how hard of work that is, how necessary it is, and even if you're not of my country, I know how necessary the American military is. I'm also really sorry to hear that you've gotten a disability through armed combat in the US military, because I can only imagine how traumatizing that would fucking be. Because no way you get injured and don't immediately think, oh god, I could die now. And I don't even know how horrible that would feel in armed combat. But this isn't about you, the person, this is about the idea. So let's talk about the idea. Is what I do a real job? Well, first we need to get into what it is I actually do. I've written down over here a list of all of the ways that you could be construing whether or not something is a real job. Legally, does it contribute financially to society? Does it contribute to society in other ways? Stuff like that. So I've written down all of the ways that you could be considering this not a real job, and I'll address them one by one. I guess we'll start with the boring one of, is this legally a real job in my country? Yes, the Canadian government recognizes what I do as a real job. In fact, they have given out business grants for it in the past, although it was very, very select, and I don't know if they still do it. I think it was fairly recently, actually. But yeah, the government very much considers working on YouTube to be a real job. They kind of clued into it really fast when Justin Bieber became like an international icon, and he started as a YouTuber. After that, they clued in pretty fast the kind of global impact that being a YouTuber has. Does it contribute to society financially? Well, last week I paid my taxes, so I would hope that it contributes to society financially. In fact, our taxes in Ontario are ridiculously high, but that gripe aside, yes, I paid my taxes, and in fact, I'm looking forward to a really good tax return. We just got our tax return in. It was way more than we expected. I guess part of it is that you can do write-offs on purchases that have to do with my business, because this is an independent business. So things like this microphone, which are very expensive, are tax write-offs, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. We actually got a lot more than we expected, which is very cool. Next thing I wrote down was, does it contribute to society in other ways? Nearly every week for the last... I mean, it's always happened, but it's picked up in frequency. So I'm going to say the last 3 years is when this became nearly every week. I've gotten a message in some way or another, whether it be directly to me or somebody in like a group chat that I read or something like that, where they have said that they've been helped through a really tough time thanks to my videos. Maybe they went through a breakup, or maybe there was a death in the family, or they lost their job, or something very serious happened, and they just needed something to make them laugh. And they knew that tuning into my video that day would make them laugh. They got to see me and Brandon goof around, rolling around a whole stage in Resident Evil 6. Or they got to learn a new game. The Guild 2, people find me through my tutorials on the Guild 2 a lot, or my videos on Haven and Hearth. And they learn how to play a game that they can kind of get absorbed in and forget about the pain for a little while. And I think that's really important, that you have comedy that can make people feel better through dark times. Because I know that I've been helped through a lot of hard times through finding free online content like that, whether it be, not for me, it wasn't specifically YouTube videos, but it was videos on another website that were just like YouTube videos. It's just YouTube didn't allow review content on their platform for a little while because their ID claim system for copyright was like really, really crazy back then. It's better now. It's still kind of crap, but it's a lot better now. But I found like movie reviewers and game reviewers and stuff on other websites, and that helped me through some really dark times. So I totally understand where that is. And outside of like it does contribute to society in other ways, outside of just like helping people through dark times, I mean, it educates people, it entertains people. We all know how important entertainment is. A happy populace gets more done, and isn't happiness a large part of life? On top of that, like, my job doesn't just have a local impact, it has a global impact. I mean, look at my chat room. I've brought people together from all over the world. I have multiple people who have started real relationships where they, you know, they take planes and visit each other in person. Real relationships. And they started it just through my community. I actually have a friend of mine who, in fact, did the channel art that you see when I do my schedule and my profile picture. That picture of me, I commissioned that from my friend Haru. It was one of my fans went over to Haru's community and they started dating, and I think that's really cool. That has brought people together globally, because I know for a fact they do not live in the same country. I mean, look at my streams. Do a roll call on my stream sometime. Come to one of my streams and just ask, like, hey, what country is everybody from? And it's so fucking cool. Like, everybody's from a different country. And it's so interesting having all these people from different places come together just around my dumb YouTube show. And that's important, because I see you guys on my Discord server jumping into calls and playing games together. It's made people make new friends from across the world and get to know other cultures. I see you guys in politics chat from all over the world talking about your local politics and everybody learning from it, and that's the coolest thing in the world to me. People are actively becoming more well-rounded and smarter people because they've come together with people from vastly different walks of life to hear them out and to learn from each other. And it's all thanks to just joining the community of my dumb YouTube show. Maybe you're wondering if I work as hard as a real job. In many ways, I probably work a lot harder than your average, typical job. I easily work more than 40 hours a week. That's just how it is when you're making a living on YouTube and you're not some kind of mega big vlogger. Even then, they work harder than you might think. Most of them, at least. A few choice names come to mind on that one. But do I work as hard as a real job? I mean, I run a crazy schedule. I need to check my Twitter multiple times a day, which doesn't sound like work, but when you make it work, it's work. I need to check my email, in which I get well over 200 emails every day from YouTube, and I check them because I read every comment, which means I also need to go through my comment section, specifically the video manager comment section, which is, it takes every comment from every video you have, which is thousands and thousands of videos. I have 12 million views, or at least I think I'm about to hit that, and I read through the comments. All of the comments that I get, and I reply as much as I can to help people out, because a lot of people are just asking genuine questions about how YouTubers get paid largely, but also questions in video games, and if I can educate them on something, then absolutely I will. So I read through all of these comments and everything. So that's definitely part of the job. I have to record these videos, which is a lot harder than you'd think, and I do improv comedy a lot. Then I need to edit the videos, which a lot of it is a lot harder than you'd think. I need to render them overnight. I need to schedule things out. Even the process of uploading and scheduling the videos is big. I need to pull out my sheet where I have all of my things organized of what I'm uploading. I need to put them out in order. I need to set up all the times. I need to copy and paste over one of the previous week's descriptions and then rewrite it where it needs to be rewritten. I need to manually put in each tag, which is a very lengthy process. Change the name because the formatting isn't right when you put it in by default. I need to put in the thumbnails, which I also make all of the thumbnails myself. I need to God, put them in the playlists, which you can't do until after the uploads on each one is started, and they go one by one. Schedule them for the right times. You don't want to mess that up, because I've messed that up before, and God, that fucks things up. And then after, as if it's not done there, and that's a 1 hour process right there, a tedious 1 hour process. After all of that, you need to wait for it to all process, which usually means the next day, because I usually upload Sunday night. Then the next morning, Monday morning, so I was just doing it before this, I was going around, I need to put in all the end cards, which takes usually about half an hour to put in all of the end cards, because that's another lengthy, insane process. So that right there, like, that's one of those things that you wouldn't even think about as a task, and if you do a channel that uploads as much as I do, oh my god, it's a fucking task. And you don't get paid for most of that, of course. Like, that doesn't get you paid doing those things, but you have to do them. Otherwise, your click-through rate's not as good, and all kinds of things you need to think about. You need to think about the research that you have to do this job. I've had to do so much research, so much online learning of editing programs and everything. Then you also need to think about how I've been streaming since before Twitch TV even existed. I've been around forever in streaming, and that is its own stressful and very difficult thing, although very, very fun at the same time. It's very tiring for me, but I have so much fun talking with people. Then you also need to think about all the freelance work I do. I'm a script writer and editor for Fudge Muppet. I am an editor for Geek Remix. I used to be a full-on video producer for Shoddycast. These are big channels. And I do a lot of freelance work for them right now. In fact, Mari of Geek Remix currently has me on paid retainer because her computer broke recently, and she wanted me to do a whole bunch of work for her. And I honestly just told her multiple times, like, oh, you're paying me too much, and don't pay me on this thing, but Mari's really nice, and she always overpays. But I'm currently, like, if you've been watching her channel, you've been seeing all the Super Seducer things going up and all of the quick look videos going up and everything. You notice the thumbnails look a little bit different. You can see my font on the thumbnails, actually. That's me. I was the editor for those. I made the thumbnails for those. I did the editing for those. On a few of those, I had to get very creative because they play a lot of, like, weird porn games. So I had to, like, go heavy into editing on censoring those. And if anyone's scoffing, be like, oh, Let's Play editing. There is no editing in your Let's Plays. Depends on the Let's Play. Some of them very minimal on the editing. But although I have to watch through most of them, like, almost completely. Well, yes, completely, but I mean, it's slightly on fast forward. It's kind of like you're into audiobooks. You get used to listening to them on a higher speed, and you can still pick everything up. When you get good at editing, when you've been doing it for... I've been doing it since high school, so I've been doing it for like 12 years. When you've been doing video editing for as long as me, you watch it on fast forward because you can still pick everything up, and it speeds things up. But I still need to take clips out as I watch it. Like, even if there's no edit to do in the whole episode outside of the beginning, the end, and the audio processing and all of that stuff, which is a different part of the process, although lengthy. On top of all of that, I am taking clips out to put into best of videos after as like a taste test guide so that people can watch the best of videos to see, oh, well, they like the series. So yeah, it requires I watch the whole thing, and that's a lot of editing, but I also do those videos like I did for Shoddycast and like I've done for Fudge Muppet, where it's like very, very, very heavily edited. I wrote a whole script for this thing. I needed to get all the footage of it, which is easily a week-long process of just getting all these weirdly specific bits of footage, because I refuse to just use a bunch of boring B-roll, and I like to have really polished videos when I'm making those review things. Consulting with other YouTube friends to either give them advice and help them out, or to work with them, or to get advice from them. Some of them are really good at animation, and that's a weak point for me. So I really like learning animation tips from them. Or, learning tips for like graphic design and stuff. I really get some tips from Mr. Chris Matt of Visnomatic for that, because he is fucking phenomenal when it comes to special effects. So I really like learning from him whenever I've really got a question. In fact, my intro, not my intro on vlogs, I did that myself, but the intro on my Let's Play and stream videos, like the curtains with my name, I learned how to do that largely through Mr. Chris Matt. He gave me a lot of ideas for that. I gave him a general idea of what I wanted. He gave me a lot of ideas. He told me how to use the puppeteering tool, and then I took care of all the graphics and I put it together. And that was really good because I already knew keyframing from high school, and I have to use it in Premiere sometimes. So that's a lot of hard work, and a lot of that was probably gibberish to a lot of you guys, because this is actually a lot more complicated than people might think it is. There's a lot of stuff that you need to be self-taught on. This is more than a 40-hour-a-week job, so if you're wondering, do I work as hard? I think I work harder than a lot of typical jobs. Not to shame those jobs. There are a lot of jobs that are absolutely integral to society. I don't think my specific one is absolutely required just because other forms of entertainment exists, but just because it isn't required doesn't mean it's not important. You talk up the job, but you break into, quote, "but there's tons of other ways to earn income," end quote. As if you're just talking down to the idea of this kind of thing even being a job. You never cite in any way why you don't think it's a job. Then you just start recommending programming. Now this is really naive. Recommending programming is the red flag that every YouTuber has seen about 1,000 times. That it basically means that the person doesn't know what they're talking about. And I don't mean this in a mean way. I mean they don't have experience with this as a career. They don't know what the YouTubers do for a job, really. And I do know that the person leaving this comment does some Twitch streams, and I have actually checked him out a little bit, and I think he does a decent job. But he has no idea what doing YouTube actually is as a job. This red flag, though, they basically they're talking about something that they think they know more about than they actually know. This is red flag every YouTuber's seen 1,000 times. It's as if programming is some kind of magic solution to a problem that only the commenter sees. Not everybody is made for programming. First of all, you don't know about the 3-year non-stop job hunt I did and how impossible the job market was where I lived, and still is, and how my disability actually affects me, because I don't know which ones of the videos you've seen of me talking about my disabilities and how into detail I went or anything. But what you don't know is I took programming in high school. I thought that I'd like it. It is the only course in my scholastic career that I have ever failed. I failed with a 20 out of 100. I failed it hard. Really, really hard. Now, I had an awesome programming teacher, so it's not a bad teacher that did it. I had a fantastic programming teacher. I love that guy. He was passionate about his work. He was a really nice and polite guy. Like, everybody loved this guy. And I worked my ass off in that class, and I failed hard. And at the time, I was really frustrated with it, and I really had no idea why. And he understood how hard I worked, and he actually gave me the credit anyway, as if I had passed. I didn't know you were allowed to do that. I'm not sure you are allowed to do that, but he said to me, I can tell you tried your hardest, and this just isn't for you. And I really appreciate that. It's easily one of the nicest things a teacher had ever done for me. And I know now that that's because I can't picture things in my head. I didn't know at the time that people could do that. I thought picture this was a turn of phrase. I learned that when I was 21, just randomly talking with Brandon one day, and then I had this epiphany where I was just doing my usual thing where I just rant about weird words. And I was like, picture this, and and I was like, what does it even mean? It's like the worst descriptive word for what it is ever, because I thought it literally meant imagine this, because I have an auditory imagination still. And he was like, yeah, but it means picture something in your head. And I was like, you're using the metaphor again. What the fuck does it mean? He's like, literally picturing something in your head. And I was like, and I had this moment where it's like, okay, there's something I don't understand here. And I'm like, okay, I fundamentally don't understand something here. And we had a conversation about it. It's holy shit, I haven't known that this whole time people can actually pick to see things in their head. For me, sometimes I see colory swirls and shit. I can't pick to see things in my head. I can pick for a thing to appear and I think it's there, but it's super blurry and I can't actually see it. But I didn't know people could literally have mental clarity in which they literally see a picture in their head and they can just see it as if it's real. I didn't know that was a thing until I was 21. Well after high school. So, yeah, it was very, very frustrating for me in high school, failing programming that hard and really not understanding why. And it's part of why I started to really lose steam on high school near the end. I got really bad at math. I was really good at math, and I suddenly got really, really bad. I'm pretty sure I passed it a pity, because I passed with a 50. And it was the lowest level course that's required to graduate high school, for math, that is. And I got the lowest possible mark. And I had a really nice teacher that year. So I think she honestly took pity and just threw on some extra marks for me. If so, thank you so fucking much, because neither of us knew that is the reason why I was bad at math. That was something that was so upsetting for me. I was so good at math for so long, and then my handicap held me back from that, and I didn't even know for years that is why. I thought just suddenly I was so bad at it, and it was like really distressing for me. But yeah, this is why you don't personally judge somebody that you even yourself admit you don't know personally. Because you don't know me and you don't know my life story. And honestly, you saying, well, I know you have medical issues that keep your body from functioning normally. I don't know if you meant that as insulting, but it comes across really insulting, like you're talking down to me, like what you have is worse. I don't know what you have, and I'm sure yours is probably worse in some ways. I've lived my entire life a cripple, and I'll never not be crippled in any way. My norm is chronic pain. So, if that was you talking down to me from a disability, not cool. And then you say you have a very defeatist attitude and my life sucks, take pity on me attitude. I find that really insulting, because as any viewer of my show knows, I think that what I've done on my YouTube channel is the thing I'm most proud of in my life, in spite of my disability. I am proud of what I've accomplished in spite of my disability. I'm proud of the life that I lead. I'm proud of the job that I do. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I'm proud of the way that I've built a family. And I've done all of this despite the things holding me back. That's something I'm really proud of. When you yourself say you don't know me on a personal level, you should probably learn from that and just not assume things about me and about a stranger, especially such insulting things. That's really not cool. The last note I have here. You worked in the military. There are a lot of idiots out there who think that that job has no value, that that's not a real job. They think you just marched around all day shooting at targets and wasting tax dollars. And yet I can just about promise that you as an individual serving made a difference, especially because you saw combat. Not as if the ones who don't see combat aren't valuable, but especially the ones who see combat. I see value in your job, and I think most people obviously understand the value in your job. I'm sure if somebody came up to you and said that your job isn't a real job and that you should go get some other job that's physically active if you like physically active jobs, you'd probably be insulted. And you'd probably school them. You'd be able to explain to them for hours the value on your job, and you would absolutely annihilate them because you're speaking from experience. They definitely don't know your job as well as you know your job. You're the one who went through that grueling fucking training for it. You're the one who worked your ass off day and night to become successful in it, enough that you actually saw combat. You weren't some reject. I can do that about my job, though. If you try and say my job's not real, I can beat you with experience on that. I haven't done this for 8 years and not realized the value in what I'm doing. Don't just message a stranger and then judge them about their career choice and then explain to them it's not a real job. They're basically looking for a handout and to get into another career. You'd be furious if it happened to you because you know firsthand that what you did mattered. Well, I read my inbox every day and I know the names of the people that I've helped. It's the thing that I'm most proud of in life. I think I've made a pretty good argument for myself. But as I do every single week on the vlog, let's shout out the people who gave me those $10 handouts every single month, who are feeding my lazy ass because, you know, all I do is look for handouts. It's not as if I do a shitload of freelance work. Thank you so much for your continued support. Ghazali, Mad Librarian, Fiery Biscuits, Zandak, Talcoman, Play a Bogart, Night Fury 15, The Jedstar, Jetstream, Conk Donk, Sophia Orr, Kilrain, Bigder, Wolf 20 KO, One Savvy Siren, Shauna, Tim, Kern Keta, Cyan Nolan, Lemonhead, Morgan, Disastra, Josh Brown, and Emma. Thank you so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Anyway, it's Monday, which is the day that I try and take a little bit of a relaxed time. So my fiance actually has a day off on Monday for the first time in forever. We're going to spend a whole bunch of time together, and it's going to be great. And maybe I'll record a little bit more Crusader Kings today while she's out doing some grocery shopping, because I've been loving the Crusader Kings 2 playthrough, and I don't have Sunday's episode on that done yet, because last week was a little bit more hectic with freelance editing for Geek Remix than I expected, because, you know, as I said earlier, Mari's computer broke, and that was a bit unexpected. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Thanks for putting up with my rants. I hope you learned something out of it. And just a reminder that if anybody wants advice on your own YouTube channel, or your own streaming, or anything like that, from somebody like me who's got a lot of experience with it, anyone is allowed to just message me on Discord, a link to like a video or something that they have on their channel that they'd like me to critique them on, and I'll give you honest criticism and let you know like where to improve and how to improve, and you can ask me any questions you want. If anyone wants to just message me and ask questions about YouTube or anything, you're totally free to do it, and I'd love to talk to you about it and to help you out with it, because I really want to help people get into this job who want to get into this job, or even if you just want to do it as a hobby, that's perfectly fine too. Thank you everybody for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.